The galaxy believed it understood war. For thousands of years, war had followed the same rules. Power decided everything. Bigger fleets won. Stronger weapons ruled. Fear kept enemies quiet. At the center of the known galaxy stood the Alliance of 9 Stars, the strongest alien power ever formed. They had fought hundreds of wars and never lost a single one. Their warriors were not born into families. They were born into training. From the moment they could stand, they learned to fight. From the moment they could speak, they learned obedience. Their armor was not metal alone. It was alive. It reacted to pain, to danger, to thought. Their weapons could cut through planets. Some could burn stars until they collapsed. Because of this, the Alliance believed no enemy could ever challenge them. Especially not humans. Humans were barely noticed. In Alliance records, humans were described with short notes and little concern. Loud, emotional, short-lived, technologically crude. Humans fought among themselves more than they fought others. They argued, questioned orders, and felt fear openly. No great empire feared humans. So when a small border world near human space went silent, no one panicked. At first, the planet had been loyal to the Alliance. It had strong defenses. It had early warning systems. Yet one day all signals stopped. No explosion was recorded. No distress call was sent. No wreckage was found. Just silence. The Alliance assumed a system failure. A scout ship was sent to investigate. It entered the system. Its sensors worked. Its engines were stable. Then it vanished. No alarm. No energy spike. It was simply gone. Second scout followed. Then a third. None returned. Now the silence felt wrong. The Galactic Council gathered inside a massive chamber of crystalline light. Leaders from the 9 strongest species watched the star maps with growing tension. Still, they were confident. Scouts were weak by design. If something dangerous existed, strength would solve it. The Council made a decision. They would not send more scouts. They would send their strongest warriors, the elites, the legends, the undefeated. These warriors were not just soldiers. They were living symbols of power. Entire civilizations had surrendered at the sound of their arrival. Some species erased their own cities just to avoid facing them. Each warrior commanded ships stronger than planetary defense grids. Each one had survived battles that should have killed them. If anything could end the mystery, it would be them. A fleet unlike any other gathered near the edge of human-controlled space. Black hulls, living armor plates, weapons glowing with stored energy. The warriors stood ready, calm, and certain. To them, this mission was simple. Enter, find the cause, destroy it. The fleet crossed the border. At first, everything seemed normal. Sensors read clear space. Communications were sharp. Navigation systems functioned perfectly. Human territory looked empty. No fleets, no stations, no defenses. Some warriors laughed quietly. One of them spoke with open confidence. Humans hide well, he said, but they still hide. The fleet moved deeper. Then, something changed. The first sign was small, a delay. A message sent between 2 ships took slightly longer than expected. The systems adjusted automatically. Then another delay appeared. Navigation data began to feel wrong. Stars did not move correctly against each other. Distances felt stretched. Nothing was broken. Nothing showed an error. But the space around them felt heavy. One warrior reported a strange sensation. It feels like we are being watched, he said. Others mocked him. Sensors showed nothing. Space was empty. Then the warrior stopped speaking. His transmission cut mid-sentence. The tactical display showed his ship still present. Then it flickered and disappeared. No explosion, no warning, just a blank space where a ship had been. The fleet slowed. Weapons were powered up. Command demanded answers. None came. Another ship vanished. Then another. One by one, icons disappeared from the tactical display. Still no energy spikes. Still no signs of battle. The strongest warriors in the galaxy were not fighting. They were vanishing. Some attempted to retreat. Navigation failed. Space twisted in ways that made no sense. A final transmission broke through, filled with confusion rather than fear. This is not an ambush, a warrior said. This space is wrong, then. Silence. Back in the council chamber, leaders watched the display in disbelief. The fleet was gone, not destroyed. Gone. They waited for reports. Minutes passed, then hours, then days. No signal returned. No wreckage drifted back. No survivors emerged. The strongest warriors ever deployed had entered human space, and nothing had come back. The galaxy, for the first time in its long history, felt something unfamiliar. Not anger, not rage, but fear, because power had failed. And the enemy had not even revealed itself. They had sent their strongest warriors. And the galaxy was about to learn why none would return. The galaxy waited. At first, the Alliance believed it was only a delay. Their strongest warriors had entered unknown space. Even legends needed time. But as hours turned into days, confidence began to crack. The Galactic Council chamber stayed lit day and night. Leaders no longer spoke loudly. They watched the empty star maps in silence. The fleet markers never returned. No emergency beacons activated. No final battle signals appeared. That was wrong. Alliance warriors always fought back. They always left scars behind. This time, space looked untouched. The Council ordered long-range scans near human territory. Nothing appeared. No debris, no radiation, no signs of weapons. It was as if the fleet had never existed. One elder finally broke the silence. "Even gods leave shadows," he said. "Where are theirs?" No one answered. A new problem emerged. Trade routes near human space began to fail. Ships reported strange readings, time delays, sensor echoes, navigation loops. One merchant vessel claimed it traveled for 3 hours, only to arrive 5 minutes before it left. Fear spread quietly. The Council decided to investigate without entering human space again. They searched old records. Ancient archives were opened. Files sealed for thousands of years were unlocked. At first nothing appeared. Then a junior archivist found something strange, a warning. It was old, very old. Older than the Alliance itself. The file contained only one line. "Do not pursue humans into controlled space." No explanation. No author. The Council dismissed it as superstition. They had defeated ancient empires before. Old warnings meant nothing. But unease remained. To understand what happened, the Council activated long-range memory probes. These machines could read faint echoes left behind by powerful objects. The probes were sent toward the border. They did not cross. They only listened. What they found disturbed everyone. Space itself carried marks. It's not damage. Not destruction. Pressure. As if something massive had been present, then calmly removed. One scientist described it carefully. "It is like footprints," she said. But the ground healed afterward. Another probe picked up fragmented signals, broken thoughts, echoes of fear. Not screams, it's not pain. Confusion. One recovered fragment repeated the same phrase. "This is not battle." The Council demanded answers. They wanted to know who attacked their warriors, so they opened a communication channel toward human space. They did not expect a reply. The channel stayed open for hours. Then a signal appeared. Clean, stable, calm. A human voice spoke. It was neither angry nor proud. It sounded tired. "You entered restricted space," the voice said. "You were observed. You were stopped." The Council erupted. Stopped. Not defeated, not destroyed. They demanded the return of their warriors. The human voice paused, then replied, "They are safe." That word froze the chamber. "Safe? How?" the Council asked. "Contained," the human said. No threats followed. No insults. Only silence. Then the channel closed. The message shook the galaxy. The strongest warriors in history contained. Not killed. Contained. The Council refused to accept it. They believed this was a lie meant to hide weakness. They demanded proof. In response, the humans sent data, not images, not videos. Partial recordings from inside the space where the warriors vanished. What the Council saw changed everything. The footage showed Alliance ships entering calm, empty space. Then invisible lines appeared. Gravity shifted. Ships slowed without resistance. Weapons refused to fire. Armor lost power not violently, but gently. The warriors tried to move. They could not. Space itself held them. One warrior shouted orders. Another tried to override systems. Nothing worked. Then a human message appeared inside their ships. Simple text. Remain calm. You are not under attack. Some warriors laughed in disbelief. Others panicked. One asked the question no one wanted to hear. If this is not an attack, what is it? The footage ended. The council sat frozen. This was not war. This was control. The scientists studied the data further. They made a horrifying discovery. Human technology did not destroy energy. It redirected intent. Weapons failed not because they were blocked, but because the space around them refused to allow violence. One scientist whispered, "They built a battlefield where fighting is impossible." The realization spread like poison. Humans did not need larger fleets. They did not need stronger weapons. It learned how to decide when war is allowed to exist. Another message arrived from human space. Short, clear. "We do not seek conquest," it said. "We seek distance." The council understood the meaning. The warriors were not trophies. They were warnings. The galaxy had knocked on a door that was never meant to be opened. And now the door had answered. Not with fire, but with silence so complete it erased legends. Far away inside the containment fields, the strongest warriors still lived. They floated in calm darkness, unable to fight, unable to escape, left with only one thought. They had never truly understood humans. They had entered a war that ended before it began. The galaxy would soon learn that silence can be more terrifying than destruction. The strongest warriors did not die. That truth alone broke the galaxy's understanding of war. Inside human-controlled space, the warriors floated in silence. Their ships were still whole. Their armor still lived. Their bodies still breathed. Yet nothing worked. Weapons refused to power on. Engines answered commands but produced no force. Even internal systems moved slower than thought. Time felt thick. Not frozen, restrained. Each warrior was held inside an invisible field. There were no walls, no bars, no chains. Space itself pressed gently against them, like hands holding something dangerous but fragile. At first, they fought. They were trained for this. Override systems were activated. Emergency protocols triggered. Armor tried to adapt. Nothing changed. No alarms sounded. No damage occurred. The space around them simply refused. One warrior struck the inside of his armor in rage. The armor did not respond. Another tried to cut himself free. The blade stopped midair, shaking slightly as if touching an unseen surface. Panic crept in slowly. Not fear of death, fear of powerlessness. The warriors had never known this feeling. They had crushed enemies with ease. They had broken defenses through force. Here force meant nothing. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time no longer felt reliable. Some warriors shouted at the darkness. Some demanded answers. Some stayed silent, watching the stars that no longer moved. Then the messages began. Not voices, thoughts, soft impressions inside their minds. No words at first, just presence. The warriors felt observed again, but closer now, not from outside the ship, from everywhere. One warrior, older than the rest, spoke quietly. "This is not a prison," he said. "It is a question." No one answered him. Soon after, a clear human message appeared inside every ship. Simple text, no symbols of power. "You are contained for observation." Rage exploded. One warrior screamed, "We are not animals." The response came almost instantly. "Neither are we." That frightened them more than silence. The humans did not insult. They did not threaten. They explained. Slowly, the containment field adjusted based on emotion. When warriors calmed, pressure eased slightly. When anger rose, the field tightened. It was not punishment, it was feedback. One warrior realized the truth too late. "They are studying how we think," he whispered. The realization spread. Humans were not testing weapons, they were testing minds. Days passed. The warriors were given food, water, medical support. Nothing was taken from them. That made it worse. Some warriors begged for combat. Others begged for death. Humans gave neither. Instead, memories began to surface. The containment field allowed thought to flow freely. Warriors relived past victories, past massacres, cities burned, species erased. They had once felt pride. Now they felt something else. Wait. One warrior collapsed in his seat, shaking. "I hear them," he said. "Those we destroyed." Another laughed bitterly. "This is their weapon," she said. "They make us remember." The humans did not respond. They did not need to. One by one, the warriors broke, not physically, but emotionally. Not all at once, not loudly. Some stopped speaking, some cried, some stared into nothing. A few resisted longer than the rest. One legendary commander remained calm. He sat upright, eyes focused. Finally he spoke. "If you wish to win," he said, "then finish it." A human voice answered him directly, calm, close. "We already did." The commander felt something cold settle inside him. "This is not victory," he said. "No," the human replied. "This is prevention." The truth became clear. Humans did not fight wars to win. They fought wars to end future wars. The containment was not permanent. It was educational. The humans wanted the warriors to understand something. Power without control leads only to endless violence. And humans had learned that lesson the hard way. Slowly, the warriors were shown fragments of human history. Civil wars, world wars, weapons that almost ended their species. They saw humans nearly destroy themselves and then stop. They learned that humans feared their own strength more than any enemy. That was why they hid. That was why they watched. That was why they reacted so carefully. The warriors finally understood the border world. It had not been destroyed. It had been removed from danger, relocated, protected. The humans had saved lives by erasing threats quietly. A final message came. "You will not return," the humans said, "but you will live." The warriors felt no relief. Living with this knowledge was heavier than death. They had been the strongest, and it meant nothing. Far away, the galaxy waited, unaware that its greatest legends were alive and forever changed. The warriors now knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was restrained. And restraint, they realized too late, was the most dangerous power of all. Because a species that can choose not to destroy you is a species that could have it any time. The galaxy changed without realizing it. No new war was declared. No fleets moved. No borders shifted. Yet every leader felt the shift. The alliance of 9 stars was still powerful, but something invisible now stood above it. Understanding. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, fear had taken a new form. It was no longer loud. It was quiet. Leaders spoke carefully now. Words were measured. Decisions delayed. The missing warriors were no longer called lost. They were called contained. Scientists studied the human data again and again. The more they learned, the worse it became. Human technology did not rely on strength. It relied on choice. Their systems did not overpower enemies. They removed options. A ship could exist. A weapon could exist. But the decision to use violence was denied by the space itself. This was not force. This was authority over reality. One council scientist said it plainly. "They do not fight battles," she said. "They decide whether battles are allowed to happen." That statement terrified everyone. The council searched deeper into human history. What they found destroyed old assumptions. Humans had never been peaceful. They had been violent beyond measure. They had nearly erased themselves many times. Weapons of extinction. Wars that lasted generations. Hatred that crossed continents. But something had changed them. They had reached a point where winning no longer mattered. Survival did. Humans learned restraint not because they were kind, but because they were afraid of themselves. They built limits, rules, invisible lines they would not cross. And they enforced those lines with absolute control. One elder realized the truth. "They are not hiding," he said. "They are guarding." Human space was not empty. It was locked. Meanwhile, inside the containment fields, the strongest warriors continued to exist. They were allowed to speak with each other now. The humans watched silently. The warriors talked about many things: regret, anger, shame. One warrior finally asked the question they all feared. "Why keep us alive?" The answer came quickly. "'Cause death teaches nothing," the human voice said. Memory does. That answer spread through the containment like poison. They were not prisoners. They were lessons. The humans were not cruel. Cruelty was quick. This was patient. One warrior asked another question. Will you ever release us? There was a pause. Not back to war, the human said. That was the moment the warriors understood. They would never return home. Not as conquerors. Not as heroes. They would return only as warnings, if they returned at all. Back in the galaxy, a smaller species dared to ask the council a dangerous question. If humans can do this, the representative said, why did they let us exist at all? The council had no answer. Then, a new human message arrived. It was broadcast openly. No encryption. No threat. It was short. We will not expand. We will not conquer. We will not rule. Relief washed through many systems. Then the message continued. But we will not allow extinction events to begin from our borders. The meaning was clear. Humanity did not want the galaxy. They wanted balance. Another line followed. You are free to fear us. You are free to avoid us. You are free to forget us. The final line chilled every listener. But do not test what we already chose not to do. After that, human space went silent again. No fleets appeared, no patrols, nothing changed, except everything. The Alliance officially declared human territory forbidden, not out of respect, out of survival. Trade routes were redrawn, star maps updated, children taught new stories, stories where humans were not villains, were heroes, they were limits. Inside the containment fields, the warriors felt something new, peace, not happiness, not comfort, but quiet. Some warriors slept deeply for the first time in their lives. Others spent time thinking. They had been trained only to obey and destroy. Now they had time. Time to question. One warrior whispered a truth none wanted to admit. They defeated us without hatred. That was the deepest wound of all. Hatred could be answered. Anger could be fought. But calm restraint? That could not be challenged. The warriors finally understood why no one returned. Not because humans killed them, but because the warriors they once were could never exist again. The galaxy had not lost its strongest warriors. It had lost its illusion of power. Humanity never needed to say it out loud. They let the universe discover it on its own. That the most dangerous species is not the one that destroys everything, but the one that knows exactly when not to. The galaxy did not celebrate. That was the first sign that something had truly changed. Normally, when a war ended without loss, there were songs, speeches, and parades. This time, there was only silence. Star systems continued their daily routines, but beneath everything ran a quiet fear. The strongest warriors had not returned, and everyone knew why. The Alliance of 9 Stars released an official statement. It was short and carefully written. Human-controlled space is permanently restricted. No military, civilian, or research vessels are permitted to enter. No reason was given. None was needed. Across the galaxy, historians began rewriting records. Old battle reports were edited. Victories once praised were now described with caution. The word invincible quietly disappeared from official language, because invincibility had failed. On many worlds, statues were built for the missing warriors. Massive stone figures stood in city centers, frozen in heroic poses. But there were no dates carved beneath them. No final battles, no last stands, no tales of glory, only names. And sometimes not even those. Children asked their elders what happened to the legends. The elders gave careful answers. They were sent to protect us, they said. And they did. The truth was harder. The warriors had become proof of limits. Inside the containment fields, time passed differently. The warriors no longer counted days. They no longer waited for rescue. Hope, in the old sense, had faded. Instead, something quieter took its place. Understanding. The humans continued to observe, but less often now. The fields remained stable. The warriors were no longer a threat. Some humans spoke with them occasionally, not as guards, as teachers. They explained nothing unless asked. They forced nothing. One warrior finally asked a question that had burned inside him for a long time. Why show us all this? He said, why not erase us and be done? The human voice replied gently. Because erased enemies become myths, it said. Myths return. That answer stayed with the warriors. The humans did not want fear. They wanted memory. Meanwhile, the galaxy adapted. Smaller empires canceled expansion plans. Weapon research slowed. Some species began focusing on defense rather than conquest. Not because humans demanded it. Because humans had shown what happened when power crossed a certain line. A young council member once asked an elder a dangerous question. If humans are this powerful, she said, why did they ever let the Alliance rise at all? The elder looked at the star map for a long time before answering. Because we stayed outside their lines, he said. And because we never forced them to choose. That truth spread quietly. Humans were not rulers. They were judges of last resort. And no one wanted that judgment. A strange thing began to happen. Some species started studying human philosophy instead of human weapons. They read about restraint, about systems designed to stop escalation, about limits placed on power. It was uncomfortable knowledge, because it forced them to look at themselves. Inside the containment, one warrior began to change more than the others. He had once commanded fleets. Now he spent his time thinking. One day, he spoke to the humans again. When will this end? He asked. The human answer was honest. When it no longer matters, they said. The warrior understood. The containment was not about time. It was about meaning. As long as the galaxy remembered the lesson, the warriors would remain. They were living evidence. Elsewhere, rumors began to spread. Some said the warriors had been turned into human allies. Others claimed they were being slowly erased. A few believed they had become guardians of human space. The truth was simpler. They were remembered, and that was enough. Years passed. A new generation grew up in the galaxy. They did not remember the wars that came before. They did not see humans as weak or strange. They saw them as something else, a boundary. Teachers pointed to maps and said, "Do not go there, not with anger." With respect, inside human space, nothing changed. No fleets marched, no banners flew. Human worlds continued quietly. The most frightening part was how normal it all seemed. One council historian wrote a final summary of the event. It was approved and archived. It ended with a single line. The strongest warriors were not defeated in battle. They were defeated in understanding. Inside the containment, the warriors felt peace settle fully at last. Not happiness, not freedom, but clarity. They had been strong once. Now they were wise. And wisdom, they realized, carried a heavier weight. Far across the galaxy, long after the fear had softened into caution, one truth remained unchanged. Not because they were stopped, but because they remembered what happened to those who tried. And the galaxy learned that some victories are so complete, they never need to be repeated. Time moved on. That alone was strange. After events that shook the galaxy, history usually rushed forward with noise, new wars, new alliances, new weapons. But after the disappearance of the strongest warriors, the galaxy slowed. Borders stayed the same. Fleets remained docked. Weapons stayed unused. Peace did not come from trust. It came from memory. Years later, a young species joined the Galactic Council for the first time. Their representative was curious, not afraid. During their first session, they asked an innocent question. "Why does no one challenge human space?" the representative asked. "They do not patrol, they do not threaten, they do not expand." The chamber fell quiet. An elder finally answered. "Because they already won," he said. The young representative did not understand what, he asked. The elder looked at the star map. His voice was calm, but heavy. The right to be left alone. The story was told again, as it always was. Not with pride, not with anger, but with care. They spoke of the strongest warriors, of fleets that entered human space, of ships that vanished without fire. They spoke of containment, of restraint, of a war that ended before it began. The young representative listened closely. "So humans are the most powerful?" he asked. The elder shook his head. "No," he said. "They are the most controlled." That answer mattered. Far away, within the containment fields, the warriors still existed. They were older now, not in body, but in spirit. They no longer thought of themselves as prisoners. They no longer asked when they would be released. That question had lost its meaning. It had become something else. Witnesses. The humans spoke with them one final time. "You will remain," the human voice said. "Not as punishment." "Then as what?" a warrior asked. "As proof," the human replied. The warriors understood. If they returned, the galaxy might forget. If they stayed, the memory would remain sharp. The humans did not erase threats. They preserved lessons. Across human worlds, children learned about the old wars of Earth, about how close humanity had come to extinction, about why limits were built into everything they made. They learned one rule above all others: power must never outrun responsibility. That rule shaped everything. It shaped their weapons, shaped their borders, shaped their silence. The galaxy mistook that silence for weakness. Once, never again. Decades passed, then centuries. Human space remained unchanged. No expansion, no collapse, no display of force. Some species began to doubt the old stories. Surely, they thought, the fear was exaggerated. Surely humans could not still hold such power. A small empire tested the idea, not with fleets, not with warriors, with probes unmanned, silent. The probes crossed into human space. They did not explode. They did not vanish. They stopped. Every system powered down at once. A message appeared. We noticed it said, "Please turn back." The probes were returned unharmed. The Empire apologized publicly. No one mocked them. Everyone understood. The galaxy no longer asked what humans could do. They asked what humans would allow. That was the true victory. One final record was added to the galactic archives. It was sealed and marked as a required study for all future leaders. It did not describe weapons. It did not describe fleets. It described a choice. It described how the strongest warriors were sent and how none came back. Not because they were destroyed, but because the war was unnecessary. The record ended with a simple statement: humanity did not conquer the galaxy. Humanity convinced the galaxy it never needed to. Inside the containment, one warrior spoke quietly to another. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Come in here." The other warrior thought for a long time. "No," he said at last. "I regret who I was before." That was the final lesson. Strength without thought is noise. Strength with restraint is silence. And silence, when chosen, is absolute. The galaxy never fought humanity again. Not because it could not, but because it understood the cost. They had deployed their strongest warriors. Not one ever came back. And the universe learned that some battles are lost the moment they are considered worth fighting.